Hey there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM3 Honors 7-8 Part 2 homework solutions on graphing trig functions with midline and phase shifts. For graphing number 7, let's get our amplitude, period, and h and k. Amplitude, got to be careful here. It's whatever's being multiplied by sine on the outside, so it's the 5 here. And then we have a period of 2 pi over the b value of 2, so that would be pi. H value, there's nothing being added or subtracted to x inside of parentheses, so that's h value of 0. So we're going to start on the y-axis for this curve. And now the k value, usually it's written over here, but this time they put it in the beginning. It's this constant that's outside your trig function. So 3 is our k value. Horizontally, we're going from the h value 0 to 0 plus the period of pi, so 0 to pi. Vertically, we're going from 3 minus 5 to 3 plus 5, so negative 2 to positive 8. Getting our x and y axis all set here. I need to be able to go from negative 2 to positive 8 for the y values, and then I need to go from 0 to pi. So this is kind of like we did on that first graphing section where you just go from 0 to here and have the 4 grid lines. All right. Sine curve, we're going to start in the middle and go up. So we're over here on the y-axis. The middle of the curve is going to be halfway between negative 2 and positive 8, that k value of 3, right about here. And then we're going up the amplitude of 5. That takes us up to 8. Back down to the midline, down to the bottom at negative 2, and back up to the midline, and draw the sine curve. For graphing number 8, let's get our amplitude. That's going to be 3. And then we have a b value of 1 in here, invisible 1. So period is going to be 2 pi over the 1, which is 2 pi. Next, we've got an h value of pi over 6. Invisible k value of 0 out here. So horizontally, I'm going from the h value pi over 6 to whatever pi over 6 plus 2 pi is. Let's see, 2 pi, that's really 12 pi over 6. So we're going from pi over 6 to 13 pi over 6, if we do a little fraction math there. Vertically, we're going from 0 minus 3 to 0 plus 3, so negative to positive 3. Let's get our grid lines for this. So I've got this grid line of pi over 6, and I'm labeling this other grid line as 13 pi over 6, and then I'm making sure I have 1, 2, 3, 4 grid lines to get from here to here. So we're just going to roll with this here. And then I'm going down 3 and up 3 from the x-axis. So we've got negative sine. Now you got to be careful on this because we have this negative out in front. So this is going to be upside down. We're still starting in the middle, but we're going down. So the middle, here's our x value, and the middle's on the x-axis. We're going down this time around because we have negative sine, and then up to the midline, up to the top of the wave, back down to the midline, and graph it. To graph this cosine function, I need to find my amplitude, period, and my phase and midline shifts. So for the a value, the amplitude, that's this 2 out in front of the trig function. For the period, I have to do 2 pi divided by the b value. The b value is an invisible 1 right here where the cosine and the parentheses meet. So we have to do 2 pi divided by the invisible 1, which gives us a period of just 2 pi. So that's kind of the standard period for trig functions. For the h value, the phase shift, that's going to be the opposite of this value next to the x here, so positive pi over 2. That tells me the first x value that I'm going to use when I'm drawing my wave. And then for the k value, the midline, that tells me the vertical middle of the wave, that's the invisible plus 0 that's out here that would normally be some other constant, but it's just 0 because they didn't write anything. All right, so horizontally, I have to go from my h value to my h value plus the period. So from pi over 2 to pi over 2 plus 2 pi, that's going to be, let's see here, it's really adding 4 pi over 2, so that's 5 pi over 2 that we're going to. Vertically, we're going from k minus the amplitude of 2, so from negative 2, to k plus my amplitude of 2, so just positive 2. So for my grid lines then, horizontally,
I need to go from pi over 2 to 5 pi over 2. So if I make my grid lines go by pi over 2's, I've got the beginning of my wave happening right here, and 4 steps to the right gives me the end of my wave. Now vertically, if I just make these grid lines go by 2's, I can go up and down the amplitude. And my midline is just the x-axis this time around, so nothing fancy there. All right, so cosine, that starts at the top of the wave. Top of the wave is here. Now remember, we're starting for x values at pi over 2. We've shifted here. But top of the wave is going to be this 2. That's our max here. So there's a dot. And since we're at the top, we can only go down as we take one step to the right. And down again to get to the bottom of the wave. Down here at -2 we said was the minimum here. Now we have to bounce back up to get to the midline. And one more amplitude step up to get to our last x value. And then just draw this cosine curve.
To graph this sine curve, I need to get the a, p, h, and k values and use a window for this. So for my a value, I've got 1/2 here. Period is going to be 2 pi divided by the b value 1/4. Same change flip, I've got 2 pi times 4, giving me 8 pi. My h value is going to be the opposite of what I see in here, so that's -2 pi. And for my midline k, I've got -2 out there. So for my horizontal, I'm going from the h value -2 pi to whatever that plus the period gives me. So -2 pi plus 8 pi gives me 6 pi. Vertically, I'm going from k minus the amplitude to k plus the amplitude. So -2 minus 1/2 is -5/2. -2 plus 1/2 is going to be -3/2. So here's what my graph might look like. If I do grid lines of 2 pi's for my horizontal, I've got 2 pi over here, -2 pi, and 6 pi over there. And if I make my vertical grid lines go by -halves, I've got -5/2 down here, -3/2 right there. So for sine, I'm starting at the middle of the wave going up. So at my first x value, middle of the wave, we are at -2 for the y value. And then I'm going to go up in amplitude as I take a step to the right. And then I'm at the top of the wave, so I have to go back down. And down again. Now I'm at the bottom of the wave at -5/2. So I step up again and draw the sine curve through those.
To sketch the graph in number 5, let's pick out our parameters here. So we have an amplitude of 3. We have a b value of 1, which means our period is going to be 2 pi over 1, or just 2 pi. H value will be pi over 2. And we have an invisible k value of 0. So let's see here. Horizontally, I'm going from the h value of pi over 2 to, let's see, whatever h plus p is. So pi over 2 plus 2 pi, that's going to be 5 pi over 2. And then vertically, I'm going from k minus the amplitude of 3 to k plus the amplitude of 3. So that's going to be negative to positive 3. Let me draw my x and y axis so I can fit all that. So I've got, we're going from pi over 2 to 5 pi over 2. And then from -3 to +3. So I'll just put a 3 up here. Now sine starts at the middle of the wave going up. So leftmost point is at this pi over 2 x value, because that's my h value. Middle is going to actually be the x-axis. So we're going right here and then up the amplitude of 3. Back down 3 to the midline. Down 3 again. And back up 3 to the midline to give us kind of this floating sine curve. And we're done. For graphing number 6, let me get my amplitude and all those other things. So a value is 4. We have a b value of 1/3. So the period is going to be 2 pi over 1/3, which gives us 6 pi. H value is going to be 3 pi, picking that out from this parentheses here. K value is an invisible 0. So let's see here. Horizontally, we're going from the h value of 3 pi to whatever h plus p is. So that would be from 3 pi to 9 pi. Vertically, we're going from 4 below the k value to 4 above it. So -4 to +4. Here's my x and y axis. And let's see, I'm going from 3 pi to 9 pi. Getting the hash marks on this is a little bit tricky. I chose to make my hash marks, my horizontal lines, go by 1.5 pi. So I've got 3 pi, I've got 6 pi, and I've got 9 pi. Next, vertically, we're going from negative to positive 4, so I'll just stick a 4 up there. Cosine starts at the top of the wave, and the very first x value is at 3 pi, so we're over here at the top of the wave. There's our first dot. Let's go down the amplitude again, and then up and up, that floating cosine curve, and we're done.